Okay, so it's preparing for that. Then we're going to record. I'm going to record on the computer. Okay, and then I just want to make sure we have it. I'm going to share it on I'll share it on my Facebook. Let's see. I'm going to go to the YouTube page. I'm like way more tech savvy than I ever thought I would be.
I was about to say, I'm so proud of you. Everything you're doing right now, like you holding it down.
I'm just okay. See, we're on live now. Facebook. See, you can hear the. Okay, so let me go ahead and I'm just gonna share it on. You can share it on Facebook. You can share it on Twitter.
We had the same hairstyle that day when we first met.
Yep.
Like in those natural afros.
Yeah. Rocking it. Okay, I just shared it on Facebook. I'm actually gonna tweet it too. Say Desmine and Robyn. I can do other headings later. So if you want to go on, it's on my Facebook. If you want to go in there, you can share it from there. Or if you, I don't know if you want to go, if you go to the YouTube, it's the Robyn Legal on YouTube.
Yes, ma'am.
Either way. So Desmine and Robyn. Alrighty.
Dynamic duo. Here we go. Posting it, sharing it on my Facebook page.
Yeah, and then I'll be able to download it later on Instagram from the recording. So I interviewed Ed, my boo, the other day. I still got to download that to Instagram. So
I love him.
Yep. So, okay. So hello, everyone. This is attorney Robyn McCoy with Robyn Legal. And I have a special honored guest today, Desmine Robinson, who is a student advocate, activist, grad student. I'm going to read his bio and then we're going to jump in. I have some questions for him. If you have questions for me, you can ask me questions too. So Desmine is a first generation graduate student pursuing his master's in higher education and student affairs at Eastern Michigan University. That's where I teach, y'all. I teach a class on law and African American experience. He's a graduate assistant at the Early College Alliance, serving as a college readiness coach. He graduated with a Bachelor of Science degree in psychology in the winter of 2020. His goal is to work in an academic advising or support service role to help graduate more first generation and students of color. Eventually, he plans to pursue a master's in counseling or social work so he can become a therapist. He wants to help combat the negative stigma on mental health, help heal the historic trauma of the Black community, and work with the youth to develop human identity through literature. He also wants to provide clinical service to those living with depression, anxiety, and suicide, loss, and grief. He's an award-winning student leader, as leading several marches and projects to promote unity and diverse inclusion. He's a poet, Black Lives Matter activist, photographer, and mental health advocate. So again, welcome. Thank you for all you do, Desmine. I'm excited. I've been interviewing some folks, some political folks, some lawyers, but I was like, I got to get some young folk up in here. You got to represent for your people, the young folk. So, and I posted that picture of when we first met. I had given a talk, Knowing Your Rights when encountering the police, immigration, and dealing with ethnic intimidation. And you were on campus. You were doing something. It was some kind of an event with some other students. What were you doing when we met?
Yes. So that day was so important for me because it was a project in reaction to the ban that Donald Trump wanted to do on the primarily Muslim countries, right? And what I was doing, I was collecting videos of Eagles on campus who were expressing their support for international students and Muslim students, letting them know that you are welcome here. And I ran into you, and it just so happened that you had the expertise, the passion and the information that was directly related to the topic. And there's a God who just connected us like that. That was amazing.
Yeah, I think it was. I feel like it was fate, and when we met, and it's what was that? It was like February 9th, 2016, and it was like you were a light, I'm a light. We're like positive energy, and it's like yeah, it was cool. We've known each other ever since. I know I invited you out to my auntie Virgie Rollins had the legacy luncheon, and so you were able to come to that. She does it every year. I mean, it's been postponed during the pandemic, but and so you were able to come out with some other students, and the governor, she wasn't the governor yet, but Gresham Whitmer was there, and so yeah, so I was excited. I was definitely, and I know you and I have kept up on the phone and everything during the pandemic. Yes. And so yeah, so well, why don't we start with talking to the audience? Like, I know you're a grad student, so what has it been like being a student during this pandemic?
Oh goodness, okay, it's been a journey because in the beginning of it all, we were all trying to give each other grace. Teachers, professors were being very merciful, really working with students, trying to work it out. For me, I tried to get used to not having people around me, because in class, I'm very social. I raise my hand all the time. I like to arrive early so I can talk to my classmates and things like that. And I had to find a way to engage people, because that's how I learned the best. So I had to get creative. I had to get backgrounds that matched my outfit. That kind of made me feel
like today. You are rocking it. You rocking that look. You got that purple. You got you. I'm feeling the spirit of Prince going on. You got that suit going on. You got everything's looking. Your hair, everything looking. You're looking fly.
Purple rain, baby. Purple rain.
Purple rain.
Lavender, baby. Lavender. Yeah, and it's been a journey. And what's been very interesting though, being a student during the quarantine, is how resilient I've been, and how resilient so many students have been. It's not easy. It's a whole different way of doing things. Some students have made that understandable choice, saying, you know what, I'm going to wait until things are back in person, because I know straight up that this virtual thing ain't for me. But I decided that I'm going to just stick it out and see what I can get out of it. And I found that it has been very beautiful. And one of the most touching things that has really gotten me was that the connection that we have online is still there when we meet in person. So that has been very delightful to figure out as a student.
Right. And then what has it been like? It's like there's so many different layers going on. So, well, first, can you tell the audience, like, what do you identify as? I mean, I know you're clearly, phenotypically, you're clearly an African-American male. Mm-hmm. But what about other
identities
that you have?
So recently on the 24th, I came out as pansexual. That means that when I am dealing with people who I'm attracted to, I don't pause at whether they're a woman, man, or non-binary. I don't ignore it either, but I go directly to the heart of that person. I go to their personality, their values, how they treat people, the content of the character, like MLK would say. Those are the things that I'm really, really attracted to. So I have a vast interest of people. Mm-hmm.
Okay, and then I'm glad you defined that, because I know I was hearing a lot about pansexual when I love Janelle Monáe. So when she came out as an artist and she was talking about she identified as pansexual, and then I was like, okay, let me look this up. I'm gonna do some research on this. And so what has it been like? I mean, I know, talking to folks in general, what has it been like to be pansexual in the midst of a pandemic? Because like you said, you're a sociable person. I'm a sociable person. So like even with teaching, I like to teach in person. I've had to do teaching online, and it's been an adjustment for me and my students. And so I think about too, like if for folks that are dating, young people, even older folk, friends that I've talked to, what has that been like as far as the dating scene? I mean, are you still doing that, or I mean, do you do it virtually, or?
Yeah, I was on Tinder trying to, find some kind of, intimacy, trying to find someone to talk to and, and share myself with. Because, and also like, with me being pansexual, I dealt with a lot of like different kind of challenges. Like, for instance, like, it's like, there's this phobia of bisexual people or pansexual people. People think that just because I'm not just attracted to one sex, that I might cheat on my partner. And I struggled with that because I was like, well, maybe I shouldn't like put women on my filter because they might not believe that I can be, committed and trustworthy. So I only, work with men. And now that I am out, I feel comfortable with just putting pansexual in my bio. And then if a woman, wonders, okay, can I be with him? Yes, you can. I can tell her and she will know. And also like being pansexual during the quarantine, I've had to do a lot of self-discovery, and a lot of talking to myself during this time. And that kind of leads to like why I decided to come out, because I've been going to therapy, and therapy has been virtual now. And being able to have that conversation with my therapist after all these years, finally getting to the point of where I'm like finally feeling comfortable to come out. And it's been a beautiful, it's been a journey period.
Okay. And then, I mean, for that, I hope that you're careful. This is the mama Robyn coming out with the internet dating. I mean, I did internet dating, but again, I'm a lawyer too. So when I was meeting people, when I did it for a little bit, and when I did it probably like one time I did a couple of years, I get the name, driver's license, date of birth. I pull it up. I can show you. I can send you the website for iChat. So I look up if they got a background. I can look up if they got a divorce records or whatever. I'm gonna be looking it up. And most the guys that I met, they were fine with that. If they had a problem, then I'm like, well, we don't need to talk. We don't need to. Most of them were like, you know what? It's like, we want to be safe too. We want to make sure, because I heard a guy saying to me that they had women sending pictures of somebody else like than themselves, and then they go and meet the person and it's not the same person, or women lying about their age and things like that, where they lived. I had a guy that changed up his number. So I mean, I think internet dating is like, obviously it's like the wave of the future. I know it's really big in India. That's where a lot of people have been able to meet their mate. But again, my caution, I always say, because it's not like back in the day where you could meet somebody. I mean, I guess you can have this still a little bit, but it seems like more so people are on the internet. Like back in the day, you would meet somebody like a friend of a friend, and then they know the person and they know their background. So you're not just meeting with a complete stranger.
Yes, no, Auntie, that's so important. And like some protective measures I put in place for myself is that I don't just meet up with a person. No, I try to have like at least a week of talking to a person every day, getting to know them. And I've been looking for those red flags. You know what I mean? Like, like for instance, like if I say I don't like something, do they acknowledge that I don't like something, or do they ignore it? Do they push by it, or do they have values that I don't share also? You know what I mean? Like when you really talk to a person, you can get an idea of who they are. And me, because I have that psychology background, right. And sometimes I do ask, deep questions. You know what I mean? Like, well, about what's your purpose? Voice crack. What's your purpose? What are you about? And things like that. And one of the red flags that I have is when someone says, I'm here for a good time and not a long time. Oh no, that's a red flag. I can't do that. I'm about longevity. And people who aren't really about that, we don't really tend to really connect. So, and also if I do go to someone's house, I try to send my best friend their address.
Right. You got to be careful these days. You got to be careful, because there are some folks out there. I mean, with my cousin, I know he was telling me about internet day. He said meet like at a coffee shop or something, shop at first in person, meet with the person. And sometimes you may want to bring somebody with you. You just got to just be careful, because these day and age, there are some good people out there, and then there's some not so good folk. And so you got to just pray on it too. Ask God to direct you and just be careful. And so again, we have been in the midst of this pandemic, and it's just going on the second year. So what has that been like for you? And I know for me it's been an adjustment going from being in court to mainly doing virtual court. I have a little bit of in-person court, and then teaching, going from in-person teaching to virtual. How has that been for you?
You know, whew, it's so weird because just being okay. So like, I remember when we first found out that that my school, Eastern Michigan, was going to close, right? And I was reading the email to my residents. I remember that moment, the moment of suddenness, like this is
Okay.
happening, like this is urgently happening because I was working in housing. And then I remember that period of just being by myself in my room for that long period of time. And then I remember Forever 21 where I work, not being open at the time, you know what I mean? And then I didn't have a steady source of income. So how am I going to pay my bills? Even though we're in quarantine, my car insurance still due, my phone bill still due. How am I going to pay for these things? And then we had the Game Above gift happen. That was beautiful. And then, then the summer happened.
What's the Game Above gift?
Yeah. So there was a philanthropist group that we have related to Eastern, and they gave a lot of people who graduates who graduated the year winter 2020 a monetary gift as a graduation gift. It was beautiful.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah, I was so thankful. I was like, oh, I needed this.
Right.
Stuck around to do other things on our campus, like fun one of our buildings, because I'm very excited that they're doing. It's so nice to have people not forget where they come from, and they give back to communities where they come from. That's beautiful. And then the summer happened, I moved into my apartment. And at this time, people are talking about vaccines and stuff like that. And then President Trump is still in the office and people are still not wearing their masks, and people are passing away. I lost my good friend, Austin Tanner, God bless him and his family. But now we're in the
season. Yeah, sorry to hear that. I've lost some relatives, some family, and some friends. It's like when it hit Michigan, it was like it hit Black folk, it could hit real quickly. So it's like State Rep Isaac Robinson, he was out there. We were doing that work on the expungement, educating people about clearing their records, and he had that pending legislation, which is now passed, the clean slate legislation. But yeah, I've had some relatives and friends, and it was just like people in the course. It was quick, it just took folks out. It was scary, And what about the vaccine? Do you have a position on the vaccine? I know some people are for it, some people are against it, or.
Yeah. And I'll just get into that, right? Like now we're in a stage of where we have the vaccine, and I got vaccinated. I got the Pfizer. I have asthma. So I'm at a high risk of getting COVID. But it's like, I also feel so sad because it's like that survivor's guilt, right? It's like we've lost so many people, Auntie. So many people.
Right. I think the last time I saw the news, they said it's past 600,000.
Yes. And like, I don't think that we really grasp how many people that is and how many people have been affected by this, how many people lost people. But it's like, I'm not for like forcing someone to get a vaccine, I'm for forcing people to have vacations, but not vaccinations. But my thing is, if people in your family are, have diabetes, or if they have asthma, or if they're older, you want to do what you can to protect them. If not, you have to stay away from them, especially during this time, or until they get their shot. So I just hope that if people are not going to get their vaccination, that they continue to wear their mask and social distance, at least until the people who are most vulnerable in their lives, get the shot.
Yeah, I got Moderna. I mean, at first I was like, oh, I'm gonna wait. I'm like, they experimented on us. I was like, I'm gonna wait. But then once I started having to go in court and being exposed to folks, I said, okay, I'm a what like Joyce Meyer says, I'm gonna do it I'm gonna do it afraid. I was like, I'm gonna pray on it and I'm gonna do it. And then, when my partner Ed and I were in line at the TCF Center, there was a white it was two younger people, two older folk. They cut in front of us in line. So that's what a lot of us were saying. That's what they were talking about in Florida, how there are white folks, wealthy folks, privileged, cutting the line, begging, stealing, borrowing, cheating to get the vaccine. And then they
Wow.
had some poor Black folk in some of the communities they showed on the news where they didn't have they didn't have the Publix where the governor of Florida had made it available in the Publix. They weren't very close to them. So they again, poor folk, Black folk were not having the access. And so I did see that they showed on the news the other day that they have a bus or a van that's going around, but they need to go deep, because not everybody has cars. They need to have multiple buses, vans traveling around the community and giving a shot to those who want it. Those who don't want it, it's your prerogative. We're not forcing you to do anything you don't want to do. But like you said, people have health issues. I've had some health issues. If we choose to get it, I do give a caveat. I always tell people, talk to your doctor, because I understand that people with MS shouldn't be getting it. Like, I have a cousin that has MS. I know I have a friend that her cousin got the shot and had MS and died like within 24 hours. So you need to talk to your doctor, go to the doctor first and evaluate what's the best options for you. Yeah. And then Desmine, I want to ask you, because I know you have the background with the psychology. What are your tips for people? I guess the first question is, how have you been coping during the pandemic, like as far as mentally, because this is intense? And then what are your tips for other folks, young folks, older folks, mentally coping with dealing with this pandemic?
When I think about you, my feelings can't explain. I've been doing karaoke, that has really been helping me express myself and just to let the love.
We should do karaoke. We should do karaoke on YouTube. I've talked with Rita about doing it. Rita White, our Black Women Lawyers president, she sings. I sing and dance. So yeah, we should do some karaoke.
Oh yeah. Do you like Proud Mary?
Oh yes. I'm a dancer though. I'm a dancer, so okay. So you've been doing karaoke. What else have you been doing?
Tons of writing, poetry, short stories, just essays. Sometimes I've been going to therapy, of course. I would go for walks with my mask on. I would take photography. I would try different styles with my clothing, just trying to get more to Desmine. I make beats. Listening to different kinds of music. Calling people I haven't spoken to in a long time who I've missed over the years. I've also been trying to try different foods, like drinking, like eating more fruit and more vegetables, and not eating like things that I'm would be easy to get. You know what I mean? Learning how to cook. Trying to build on my skills.
Okay.
And also trying to just understand Desmine better, asking myself deeper questions and things like that. For other people, I suggest them to do whatever they can that I've mentioned also, because those things help. But I think people should really just because self-care, okay, is not about the bubble baths and the shopping sprees. It's supposed to restore your spirit, right? It's supposed to give you an opportunity to take a break, but come back stronger and better than before, right? And that isn't always done just by just laying in bed. You get the rest and all, but what about what really exhausted you in the first place? Maybe you need to reorganize your calendar. Maybe you need to reflect on what made you upset this week. What made you upset today? Talk to yourself about that. Pray on it, write about it. I really invite people to really tap into who they are, tap into their frustrations, their sadness, their anger. There's a lot of things to be upset about these days. And it's kind of hard to escape it. It's always on the news and we're home. So I think people really dealing with how they feel is a very important thing to do right now regarding self-care.
I know for Black Women Lawyers, what I did is I'm on the board, I'm the vice president. We have elections coming up in June, but I actually, I brought in my therapist to talk with the membership. And I'm a big advocate of therapy. Cherie, shout out to Cherie, my therapist. She's holistic, metaphysical. She's amazing. She's a sister. She's righteous. And so then we brought in Dr. Sabrina Black, because I just feel like definitely, I mean, we are African Americans and we have been through a lot, you know, descendants of slaves. And so it's like, we just being in America in general without the pandemic, it can be stressful, but then having the pandemic, that layer of the pandemic, and then, you know, the continued brutality from some of the wayward cops, like, and then having the Derek Chauvin trial, like, and so for me, I watch the news, like my partner is a news junkie, but I watch some of it and I have to pull away.
Yes.
And what about you? How have you felt with it? Because it seems like we're almost suspended in space and time with the police, like the police brutality has been going on, but it's like, with the George Floyd trial, with, you know, we have Ronald Green now, like how did you feel about the Derek Chauvin trial and how and all just what's been happening with Black men, women, and children, but more than anything, to me, it's like Black men being brutalized by the police.
Breonna Taylor.
Yeah,
Breonna
Breonna
Taylor's birthday was just recently. Like her birthday was recent.
Right.
Auntie, I did not watch the trial. I couldn't sit there and take that punishment. You know what I mean? It would have been further punishment for me, because Black people, we don't always go into those, you know, trials with good faith anyway. I would have been sitting there, get my, you know, my hopes up just to be, you know, knocked back down again, like Sam Cooke said, you know what I mean? And it's like, it's so crazy that we're in the middle, like we've been in a pandemic where we have this one thing that's killing everyone, you know what I mean? But we still make time to kill each other.
Right.
It doesn't make sense to me. And for Ahmaud Arbery to just be jogging, you know what I mean? Like me walking outside, right? That's one of the things I say I do for self-care. That could happen to me. That could have happened to me. You know, Breonna Taylor, she in
her home.
Okay.
She's not even out. She in her home.
And she's one of the people who we've been praising this whole time, our essential workers, right?
Right.
Yeah, she gets killed like that. And the crazy thing is, the wall that was shot through or whatever got more justice than she did. That's crazy, you know? And then with, you know, George Floyd, watching that video, the crazy part about that video that stuck with me was that the entire time watching that video, I was rooting for George Floyd to get up, as if I didn't know that he was already gone by the time I saw that video.
Right.
It's like we hope for things to get better, even when we're seeing all these crazy things happening. And I tell you, it's like also having asthma, and you know, like you mentioned in my bio, I'm an activist. I like to lead marches, but I have asthma, and I didn't want to put myself outside, you know, marching and stuff, because I would put myself at risk. And my father has diabetes, and my mother, you know, they're older, and my brother, he has asthma too. I didn't want to risk all that. And so one of the things that, like, one reason why activists do what we do is for us to feel powerful again. When we see things like what happened to Breonna Taylor and George Floyd, we feel powerless. We feel like they can just come into our homes and just take us out. And we feel powerless. Marching in the streets, asking for things to happen, demanding things, that makes us feel better. So I have to find ways to navigate, you know, my power in a new way, you know, talking more on Facebook, making videos, getting creative about how I promote these issues, holding people accountable, sharing documentaries with people, just doing whatever I can to really try to raise awareness and to try to evoke the sensitivity to these issues.
Yeah, and I've been in the streets. I mean, when they were dealing with, my girls and I went to the Million Woman March in Philadelphia, and then we also when we were dealing with the anti-affirmative action climate at U of M Law School, we were out there, we were protesting. There were marches, rallies. I was on panels and things like that. And it's like, as an advocate activist, you kind of have to have a balancing act of knowing when is the best time to protest, or what's the best way to try to strategically get to your goal. Sometimes you're in the streets, sometimes you're doing things behind the scenes. You're not always out there in the news, but you're making moves behind the scenes. I also too, I've made videos. I've also, we interviewed Ben Crump Attorney Crump. So shout out to him, the work that he's doing out there. And then we interviewed, so Ben is, was the lawyer for the George Floyd family and has been one of the lawyers for Breonna Taylor. And then we also interviewed Lanita Baker, who's one of the lawyers for Breonna Taylor. And I feel we still like there's different, as activists, as advocates, there's different ways that we can, it's like we can be involved and be engaged. We can be in the streets if that's what we're led to do. We can protest. You can have, do things online, boycotts, like boycotting when they were talking about the voting issues that were happening in Georgia and boycotting certain companies. And but it has to be a balancing act. I had my mom, shout out to Nurse Pam, because I was ready to run in the streets all the time. She's like, look, wait, you got some health issues, wait a minute.
Right. Yes.
And that's been the issue too, is dealing with health. I've had some health challenges. I talked to you before we got on, dealing with health challenges and having to have health medical procedures in the midst of the pandemic, because it's like, dude, I don't want to go to the hospital, but then if I was starting to feel pain. I was feeling real bad pain, and it was last year spring and the summer, and it got to be so bad, and I was just like, I'm like, I don't want to go to the hospital because people are sick there. I was like, but I was feeling so bad, and so I went there, and just having to go through all these tests, and thankfully, they had me scared. At first they said they thought I had cancer, and I was like, oh my gosh, I was praying on it, and then it turned out I had some issues I'm still dealing with, but it's not as bad as what they said it was.
Not as good.
But that's why I encourage people, because I've had clients too. If you're not feeling well, go to the doctor, go to the hospital. I know Black folk particularly, I know y'all scared. Some of my white folk too, y'all scared, you're gonna go in there and they're gonna mess you up. But just pray on it, pray that the Lord sends you a righteous doctor, so that it's better to go get help, go to the doctor's office, than to be suffering and be in pain. So that's what I implore folks to do. And so also so you've talked about tips about mental health, and I know, that's been a big issue they've talked about, especially the young people with mental health, that they are struggling. Some people are able to learn online, but some people learn better, like if they're in person or if they're engaged. And I think that's been a concern that I've had for the young people. Like, I mean, dealing with having Trump, with his crazy self. That was a trauma in itself. Him out there doing all kinds of crazy stuff. It's like, what is he gonna do today? And it's like, oh my goodness. And now he's gone, but he's trying to come back, y'all. He trying to come back. It's calmer I also wanted to ask you, because I know you said that you did some things with the Biden campaign. I volunteered with the Biden campaign. I did election protection, things like that. You did some phone banking. So what was that like?
Well, on my first day, I said, I'm so happy they don't know that I'm Black. Because I was getting some comments, you know what I'm saying?
Okay.
People are very, aggressive, with their position. But that was just the first day. The other days, there were mostly people who were complaining about being on the list, period. But It was so interesting because I felt so invested in it. I could say that I did something. In the area where I call, downriver, particularly in Taylor, we had a very unique turnout this year. And I felt that I had something to do with that. And
you said you had what was the turnout like?
A unique turnout.
Oh, unique. Okay.
Yeah. In the positive way too,
Okay, it's positive. Okay, because you said Taylor. I don't know. I had to be thinking about it. Taylor is interesting. Okay.
Yes. And what was also interesting was that I got a chance to meet Lizzo.
I know. You told me about that. What was that like? I love Lizzo. I love her. What was it like?
I was supposed to go do canvassing, in Detroit, but I didn't really know the area. So I was like, well, I don't really know the area, so I don't want to really canvass. But I got a chance to see her there. And then when I went over, I'm gonna take a picture with her, but she paused twice to take a picture of me on one shoulder and on another shoulder.
That's awesome. Yeah, she is body positivity. I love Lizzo. I mean, that's the thing too, when we were talking about what people can do to deal with their health. I've been, I have a bike and a treadmill. So when the weather's cold, I've been trying to do that, get myself motivated doing that. And then when the weather is like it is now, I walk. And I mean, I'm on the lake in like Belleville Lake. So there are geese. Oh, look, you got the weights. That's what I'm saying. You got to exercise. I mean, it's like exercise, trying to, Ed is a vegetarian, so I'm a half vegetarian. So I done had some I'm not gonna say I'm had some backsliding ways though. I had the fried chicken it's called fried chicken, the crab legs have called me. I had some ribs last week, but for the most part, I try to stick vegetarian. I try to eat more plant-based. I'm trying. It's hard because you're at home. If you're at home more, you want to eat. You want to eat. You just want to. And so I want to eat. And so what else have you been doing? Why don't we talk to the audience about what have you been doing for fun?
For fun.
You said you had karaoke, which I do. I dance because I'm a dancer. So I turn on I listen to my music and I dance around my place, or even when I walk outside, I put the music on. Yeah, you see me doing leaps and dances and stuff. I dance outside too.
Me too. I am also a dancer. I always post me dancing. I'm dancing all the time. Trying like different styles, right? I go to Joann's now, and I make earrings like this one. Like
it's beautiful. You need to make me something. My friend Coral makes jewelry too. Yeah, I got my earrings are the Black Lives Matter ones. I got this off of Amazon, but you make jewelry. That's wonderful.
Yeah, and I was like, at first I was like, oh my God, like white people don't like only white people shop at Joann's and Michael's.
I shop at Joann's, okay? I shop at Joann's. For my I get head wraps, I get crafts. That's the thing too. I've been a lot more crafty. Like when the holidays are coming around, Thanksgiving, I put some decorations for Thanksgiving, 4th of July, Easter. I had a rabbit on my door.
When I went there, I had like 5 Black people help me pick stuff out. I was like, Desmine, all right, let go of your stereotype. Black people like arts and crafts too, okay? I mean, come on. Obviously, we like arts and crafts.
Yeah, no, when you go, like I've lived in South Africa but really Senegal. When I went to Senegal, you see Black folk, the colors, the materials, people sisters braiding people's hair for like $10 for a whole head. And, and brothers making furniture, people making furniture, making artwork. Oh, it's just beautiful. So yeah, we have that. It's a part of us. It's innate to be able to be creative, have that creative energy.
The ancestors are shaking their head at me. They said, do you know nothing? Do you know nothing about your people, Desmine?
Well, those earrings those are beautiful earrings. And so if you want to, when my birthday comes around, it comes around in October, if you want to make some earrings, you can do that. Okay. I'll just put it out there. So also, people have been binging on a lot of shows. So what shows would you recommend? Like, I know I watched The Crown, Bridgerton. What else did I watch? What else have I've seen? Well, we talked about, my sister recommended Pose, so I'm almost done with season 2 of Pose.
That's my show. I love Law and Order. I love Pose. I was watching Little Fires Everywhere with Kerry Washington.
Oh yes, that was wonderful.
Watching.
What about Pretty Little Things? That's the dance.
No, I haven't seen that.
Oh no, you've got Marsha. Shout out to Marsha, my sister friend Marsha. Marsha recommended it. You, Desmine, because you're a dancer, you're gonna love it. It's like these kids that are dancers, and it's relationships, and it's like a murder mystery type thing going on. But things, it's good. It is good. Yeah.
Oh well, then you got me sold. Hey,
it's juicy. It's like juicy. Like Bridgerton is juicy too. Have you seen Bridgerton?
No, my mom watches that.
Oh yeah, no, you gotta watch that. I saw my hairdresser turned me on to Halston, so I don't know if you've seen Halston. He was a designer, and that's on Netflix, and it shows his life, being a designer. He was very eccentric. He was queer, so just the whole it shows his relationship with his family, like some of the things he had to deal with his family, but he was just like as a designer, a genius, just showing his genius. And it was really good. Yeah, I watched. I'm for me, if something catches on, I'm on it. I'm binging on it. I'm gonna watch it. Dark Desire is like a Spanish telenovela. That's a pretty good one too. It's kind of, it's risque. I mean, I don't know if you squeamish, I don't know, because it's got murder and sex. I mean, the sex, people not, that's most people not gonna have a problem with the sex, but the murder and the intrigue, and then you gonna have to have your glasses on, because if you, unless you speak Spanish, hablo en español, okay, because it's yeah, you gotta read.
I'm the kind of person that watches the same stuff over and over again. If I like it, I'm gonna watch it. I watch my same anime, Full Metal Alchemist.
What anime? My nephew watches anime. So what anime do you watch?
Yeah, Full Metal Alchemist, Dragon Ball Z Super, Inuyasha. I love those. Okay. I watch it over and over again. My friends are like, and also my students, the students I work with, they're always trying to put me onto new things. I'm like, I'm trying.
Yes. And then, so what else I want to ask you is, who have been some of your major supports as far as friends and family during this pandemic? Because I know we were talking about giving tips to the folks, to especially young people. Like, who have you kind of pulled on to be supports?
Oh my God, it's been a journey.
You can always call me. I'm always available.
Yeah, I did call you.
I know.
I did call you.
I know. I call. Look, I will check in. I'm
me.
called to check in. I'm like, look, hey, what's going on? How you doing?
Right. And
because I'd be worrying, so I just be calling folks.
I love you for that too. And let's see. Like, I had my friend Terry. Like, she's the one that really motivated me to get into the political process, and in the phone banking for Joe Biden. She helped me kind of put my words together when I'm trying to talk about what I want to do regarding this police brutality thing. My mentor, Mr. B, him and I talk about doing things. Let's see. Oh,
well, you know what? Before we, because you brought up the police brutality issue, and I do programs on what to do when stopped by the police, and I talk about when they come to your door. Don't just let them in unless they got a search warrant, unless it's an emergency.
Okay.
And zip it. Don't be giving a whole bunch of statement, because they take that statement and then they give it to the prosecutor, and then you look up and a lot of people are like, that's not what I said, or they promised me if I gave a statement they would let me go, and they don't understand. They take your statement and give it to the prosecutor, and then you get charged. You give them stuff that's ammunition against you. But what are your tips as a Black man? What are you, if you get stopped by the police? Because that's why I always I've talked about doing a series where we hear from Black men, because y'all are catching it. I mean, it's Black men, women, and children, but I just feel like it's what I'm seeing is disproportionately Black men. I feel like because you guys are perceived more so as a threat than anything. So have you been stopped by the police? And then what are your tips of survival for folks out there?
I got stopped by the police one time. I was on my way to work and it was a yellow light, and it was yellow when I went under it, and I would have braked, I would have been stuck in the street. So I kept going and I got pulled over. And at first, he came out of nowhere. I'm like, oh dang, let me pull over. I pull over and asked for my license and registration. My window doesn't roll down easily. Like, if it rolls down, I have to put it up manually. Ain't nobody got time for that. So I say, my window doesn't roll down, so can I open the door to give it to you? He says, yes, but slowly. So I say, I'm reaching in my glove compartment to give it to you. And I do it, because we got to be verbal about everything that we're doing, and slow. Yeah, and I give it to him. I put it on my steering wheel. And he says, you ran a red light. I'm like, oh, I did? I didn't see a red light, but I don't want to say too much, I was like,
again, don't be like, oh, really? Okay. Right. Yeah, so, you don't get into no discussion, no debate.
Right. So I say, okay, well, so he's like, I can do an impeding traffic thing. You won't go on your record, but you're going to get a fine because I'm doing you a favor. In my head, I was like, shoot, if you're doing me a favor, don't give me nothing.
Okay, just give it. I too have been stopped, and I've had my time. I was a little bit of a speeder back in the day that didn't kill my speeding spirit. It's gone. It's gone. I'm looking at the rules, following the rules. And but yeah, I got stopped twice at one time, and I was not speeding. I had a black man in the car with me, and they asked for my license and my passenger's license, which was, and I went and challenged that. I was like, why are you asking for his license? They said, you don't know, he could be a rapist. But I'm like, what does that have to do with me?
Speeding.
Because I was, yeah, and they were like, what they basically said is, what you doing out here at this time of night? I was visiting a relative, and they're like, what you doing out here? Twice I got stopped. What you doing out here at this time of night? And I was just like, oh, and so
you're a lawyer.
Yeah,
you're a whole attorney.
So for your stop, did you have time to put your camera on, or because that's what we've advised some folks to try to put the camera on or have a dash cam.
I didn't want to go through all that because if they see me moving and stuff,
yeah,
I don't want them to think I have a gun. So I'm like, let me just bite the bullet. Let me just remain calm, keep my demeanor. One time, actually, no, like there was a second time, like I got pulled over, and it was actually on a date.
Okay.
Me and a gentleman were sitting in the car talking, and the cops got caught on us. He's black too, and I have to reach my hand through my sunroof.
Okay.
To give the officer my license. But unfortunately, the person I'm with, he's very frustrated, right? And I know that frustration and aggression can really escalate
the situation.
Yeah, and so I'm trying to do more of the talking than he is. So that way it doesn't really escalate, and even after the cop left, he was still very mad. I had already moved past it, but it just speaks to how traumatic it can be for people. And anger isn't always just fierceness. It comes from a root of sadness too. People get sad because they feel dehumanized and humiliated when they get treated like that by the cops.
I've been stopped. I feel panicky. I feel anxiety. Sometimes I get shaky. I have to calm myself down, do a little prayer. Lord Jesus, pray, put my hands on the wheel, just pray, and I mean, they pull over. They tell you, what I tell people is pull over safely right away, turn on all the lights, roll down the windows. That's assuming you ain't got nothing illegal up in the car. Now, if you got some illegal stuff, don't be turning on the lights, whatever. First of all, you shouldn't be having nothing illegal up in your car, okay? Don't be doing that. But if you got something, don't turn. So my advice is specific to you.
Don't give them a reason.
Yeah, don't give them a reason. And, I do, if a person has it where they can have their phone record, I say record or have the dash cam. And then I just saw in the news recently, there was, because I've talked about this, but it's beautiful because it's again, this is collective work that we all do. Everybody has a purpose. So I saw that there were some brothers that they have it now. They created an app where you can, I'll send it to you. I should share that it's an app where when the cops stop you, that you can pull up lawyers, 24-hour lawyers that can be on your phone with you when the police, when the police are stopped. I had a friend that did that with me. He said, he called me one time when the police were there, and I was walking him through everything, telling him to calm down and everything. And so, yeah, I mean, that's what I feel is the best protection. If you can have it where a phone or have a video, like a screen where you have a lawyer right there, or have cameras on your car or your house, wherever you are, or because look at George Floyd. If the young lady didn't have her video, if she didn't know anything, we wouldn't have known anything. I've had clients over the years, I've been practicing, and it'll be 20 years in November, that have told me how they got roughed up, they were mistreated by the police, but in the past, it was their word against the police. And a lot of times the jurors would just side with the police. I mean, now we have some jurors, and sometimes they don't necessarily just side with the police, like we saw with Derek Chauvin. They didn't do that. I know he's got his sentencing coming up, but it's and they say what in scripture, what's done in the dark will come to light. And Amen. So, for me, I took a class on constitutionalism in South Africa, and then I went there and I looked at the apartheid system there and what they were going through, and I'm like, it's a lot similar to us. And at the time I was in South Africa, it was in 1999, and I had read about some of the oppression that Black folk had, and I'm thinking, oh, things are getting better. But now when after the whole with the Trump, and it's not just Trump, it's because there were 74 million people that voted for him, so it's not just him. This is a whole caste environment. And so it's pretty intense. But I did want to go back to the initial question. Who have been your major supports for you during the pandemic?
Now I was gonna say Officer Dorsey. She and I have really bonded, and she's always was there for me to encourage me through getting, my own definition of manhood, right? Um,
Okay.
really standing in my independence and being able to communicate that to my parents, especially my mother, in a respectful but also authentic way. It's don't nobody want to walk up on a Black woman and say, I'm grown now. You don't want to say it like that. You want to say, I have my responsibilities. You've done a good job at raising me, but now I'm in a place where I have to take care of myself. I need you to play a different role in my life now. It's going to be more on a supportive side as opposed to the one leading the charge. And I trust you I trust you enough to ask you for advice, but I hope you trust me to hold my own. And
Okay.
yeah, so that's been awesome. And I've been going to therapy, of course. So those have been some really nice resources. And my best friend Jaron, because he's always there for me. Especially during the dating and all that, like he's really helped me understand myself and my toxic traits. We all need at least two people in our lives who gives it to us straight. Okay, who not afraid to say, Desmine, okay, Robyn, you were wrong.
Right.
He does that for me.
My mama, Nurse Pam, she don't mince any words. She does not sugarcoat it. She just give it to me straight. So yeah, and I have friends and family too, and it's important. I think that we make sure we surround ourselves with people that are gonna build us up and be loving and supportive, but also call us on if they feel like, well, you want some stuff, let you know. Don't sugarcoat it. I think that's important. And let me ask you, because I know it's Gay Pride Month, and have you done anything special to celebrate?
So the suit that I'm wearing right now, I was supposed to wear for this Friday, but my brother, my mentee, Kenneth, he said, Mr. Robinson, Desmine, it's going to rain. It's going to be hot.
Okay.
You don't want to wear no suit and burn alive.
Okay.
So this Friday, I'm performing a poem about why it's important to love our LGBTQ plus youth. Because there are so many things that happen to the LGBTQ plus youth when they are trying to find shelter after being kicked out, trying to find love after being disowned by the people who are supposed to protect them and love them no matter what. We can often end up in unhealthy hands, domestic violent relationships, and there's so many things that
Homeless, like you said, high rates of homelessness,
yeah.
police brutality, trans women experiencing that,
all these
Black
things.
women of color, trans that have been experiencing brutality from the police.
Yeah. All these things, and also like bad sex education too. A lot of people don't get the sex education that they need for them, you know what I mean, for their preferences too. And that leads to people not knowing how to get tested for STDs and STIs. There's stigmas around it too. And it's like we are putting our youth in a bad spot if we say they're not welcome with us anymore, welcome in love anymore, because now we're giving them to the world, and the world is dangerous, scary, and unpredictable. And if we don't hold on to them with authentic love, or at least love that's graceful, because like my mom, like when I came out to her, it's taking her some time, right? But
Okay.
This past weekend, she gave me like this whole care package of watermelon and strawberry cheesecake and toilet paper, all these things. And it's like, parents, they have this vision for their kids when they're born, right? But
Right.
parents, before their child is even born, they've already decided that having a gay child or a trans child is a problem for them. So it had nothing to do with the child themselves. So now that a child is growing up and showing who they really are, a parent has two choices: either to go with who their child is expressing them to be. This is me, mom, this is me, dad. Or they can choose to try to drag them back into their vision, their mind, and you get resistance, and you get what's the word I'm looking for?
Disharmony.
Disharmony, resentment, all these things. it's like we have to love our children and we have to accept them for who they are. I think there's a song out there saying like we may create our kids, but we don't own our kids. We have to love our youth and support them so they can be solid and strong adults.
I think the word is it's the unconditional love. It's like, as Christians, as whether you're coming from the traditional, I was raised in the traditional church, and then but I've been in the Unity Church. It's more metaphysical. It's a more non-traditional church for the last it's been about 11 years. So unconditional love. And I mean, I even just watching one of the episodes of Pose, and there's a parent. I don't know if you guys, as far as when Candy I don't want to spoil stuff for folk, but like Candy's mom, when you see her and she's like, look, there's no book or guide on how to at that time, how to be a parent of a gay or a trans child. And I mean, I know now we're in 2021, there are more resources, but still there's not, I think there are movies and things like that out there. But there still needs to be resources out there to give guidance to parents on how to deal with things. And I would be remiss. I want to make sure I ask you, because I know we're coming up. It's almost 6 o'clock. But what are your thoughts about? There's been this discussion about, in the laws with the legislature, with folks wanting trans rights in sports. Or I mean, maybe you can elaborate. Like, what are your thoughts? Because, well, I mean, I can give you my opinion, but I want yours first. What's your opinion about trans folk participating in sports?
Mm-hmm. So I still in understanding my own position also, but period, I believe that trans students, trans kids deserve to be able to participate in the sports that they want to, period. And I think that we have to find a way for them to participate, whether that means putting like restrictions on, like, you have to be on T for this long or whatever, or just like estrogen for this long, whatever. We have to be able to do it, but it also has to be, and we have to include like the athletes who are in the sport also. But I do want to say this though. I think a lot of the transphobia that's happening is deep rooted in sexism. I think a lot of people are saying a woman couldn't participate in a man's sport. They're saying these things because they don't believe that women are capable of like reaching the levels of a man. And I do believe that women are conditioned to not be competitive against men in athletic situations. But I think there are clear evidence. There's clear evidence that a woman can defeat a man in any athletic sport. There is a boxer, a trans boxer who defeated a genetically male boxer. That's happened. It's possible. We just have to really let the dialogue flow. And it's going to hurt. It's going to be, scary. It's going to be confusing for some people, but we have to do it as a community, as a country, because we are evolving. And I am so proud of the trans community because they're saying we don't want to wait. We want our rights now, and everyone deserves their rights. And I think that one day we are going to be able to get to a place where everyone can do what they want to do.
Right. I mean, I know that some folks from the more of like the straight or heterosexual community have just expressed concerns about, like, if it's a girl sports and to let somebody like who was born a male compete, that's not fair. And I'm kind of like, well, why don't we just expand all the categories and give more freedom to people to decide what the boys and boys, girls and girls, trans female and trans female, trans male, trans male. Why don't they just expand it? So expand the categories to deal with that. And then I got to ask you, because I don't know if you've seen I don't know if I called you. I might have called you. I don't know. Little Nas X's video,
yes.
Montero. Okay, so first I got to tell the audience, because some people may not have seen the video. So I saw the video. I watched it probably about 3 or 5 times. Okay, because I was like, understand this. I watched it, and when I first watched it, I'm not going to deny, kind of that traditional church lady was coming out like, oh my God, because in the video he starts, for the audience, He starts out, he's on a tree, and it's like he's got his dreads, he's looking kind of like a Garden of Eden type look, and then there's a snake that comes down, and he goes down into this place and he's looking very lovely. He's got some, he's being taken in chains and he's being judged. And there's the pink and the blue, and then he goes down a stripper pole down into hell, and then he's giving the devil a lap dance,
and then snaps his neck and takes over hell.
But then he takes on the wings of the devil, and I'm like, and I know I read some things. Well, first of all, there were just so many different layers. For me, having been an advocate for youth, I'm like, man, he got some stuff going on. I know we want our youth to be expressive of the trauma or whatever the experiences they've gone through. My only caveat, and this is, why couldn't he, when he killed the devil, why couldn't he just ascend back up to heaven? And why we gotta have the demon shoes when he's saying he's got the devil's blood? The traditional church, obviously people believe in the devil, and the more non-traditional church, people don't even believe in the devil. So they're like what? They don't care about the whole thing. They look at him as being more creative and he's doing his art. More traditional church is like, oh my gosh, what's going on with that boy? So what are your thoughts?
Man, it was such a weird time for me. Because at the same time, like George Floyd's case was happening, right? And then people are expressing a lot of homophobia towards Lil Nas X. So my intersectionality, as a queer Black man, I was really being like, I was getting it like from here and over there. Like I felt like so much commentary was happening against me during that time. I had to turn notifications off for Lil Nas X for a little while. I had to take a break, because I couldn't deal with all the homophobia that he was getting. But I love the video because of the commentary. Because the thing is, as a queer Black man, as a queer person, period, we are often told that we're going to hell. We tell someone that we're gay, that we're trans, that we're pansexual, that we're bi. They don't say we love you first. They say, no, you're going to hell, Desmine. Oh my God, have you chosen to turn away from God? It's like, no. In fact, God and I have had our conversation about this. If anything, I pray every day to God for protection from all this homophobia. You know what I mean? So how I took it was that Lil Nas X was like, okay, y'all want me to go to hell? But then fine, I'm gonna go to hell and I'm gonna show out.
I'm gonna conquer the devil. That's what he's like. I'm gonna take the devil out. Yeah.
So that's how I took it. And I think that with the shoes, like that was like that made me nervous too, because I'm also a Christian, but I was like, he's doing it for artsy purposes, but also like to really get at people and to get under people's skins. And I think people need to have someone get under their skin, because after all of the generations of people who've been beaten up and killed from homophobia, I was so glad and so proud, but also very scared for Lil Nas X, because, that's a lot of hate coming towards him. You know what I mean? So I prayed for him and all that stuff, but overall.
That's what I think of too. Again, there's young people are having in general, young people, then the Black youth, then Black queer youth, and then Lil Nas X. And then I think about Hollywood. Hollywood is there's a drugs, toxicity, and this issue about making sure you have the right support systems around you to help you. So that I was, when I watched the video my fifth time, every time I was like, I was just trying to watch it and like dissect it, like have an understanding of it. But you were saying, I'm sorry, I interrupted you. You were saying that you were concerned too about the hate that was being thrown his way.
Yeah, I wanted him to be okay, because what he was doing was groundbreaking. We need extremes, and we need people who are polite. Extreme people push the door open, and the worst thing could happens, right? They go to hell and snap the devil's neck. Like, what worse? How worse can it get? Now there's room for people who are, gay, who just want to just be themselves. It gives room for them to be themselves, as people have already dealt with the extreme. I think he's opened doors for people, open conversations for people. to really have visibility and to have confidence in themselves. I don't think that most people in the community want to go to hell and snap the devil's neck. It wasn't about that. It was taking a hold of all the hatred that people have been putting onto us and saying, no, okay, I'm awesome, I'm beautiful, I'm fantastic, and I'm powerful, and I don't have to take this crap, and I'm not going to hell. These things are important. I think we need to recognize that also, like, people in the LGBTQ community can have a relationship with God, can have a relationship with Jesus, and I do. And that's also one reason why I decided to come out, because I am very, very, very close to God. I talk to him all day long, and he leads my steps. I ask him to lead my steps, and I want more people in the community to know that God loves them too, as they are, and he will work with them as they go.
Right. I mean, and that, I think that's some of the, but I was raised baptized Catholic, Pentecostal, AME, and I was in the more traditional church. And then, I've worked as a lawyer, guardian ad litem for children. And I mean, for me, I had a mom and a dad. So that's typically what I would want for my kids. But then I've had kids that were like throwaways. And I had one child that was in residential, and it was a gay couple, gay men that brought him in. And had they not brought my client in, they provided a loving, nurturing environment for him, made sure he got counseling. They had counseling. Had they not done that for my little client, he would have been in residential. He was running away. He was having all these struggles. So it's I kind of have, obviously I think my traditional mindset is I want all of my kids to have a mom and a dad, because I was blessed to have a mom and a dad, but I'm like, that's not always available. Sometimes it's going to be a mom. Sometimes it's going to be a dad. Sometimes it's going to be two moms. And sometimes it's going to be two dads. I mean, the only thing I would say, my only caveat is that you make sure culturally with that child that they understand their culture, so that they don't, because that's what I feel is a lot of kids are struggling. They don't know their culture, or they're having mental health struggles, and then they're bugging out. They're tripping because of that. And I was really impressed. Like, I met Pete Buttigieg when he first ran to be DNC chair, and he was just like a young cute guy, and he's just gone so far. And then I know Chaz Buttigieg has a book that's come out to kind of talk about his experiences. There's, you have books, you have movies that are giving people more exposure. Like, what I appreciate is that I do see that there is more tolerance out there. When I was in college, I took a class. I was aiming to take the class on race and gender, and then but I was in France when I was dealing with race, and then gender, I was away, and then I came back, and then the class ended up focusing on race, gender, and homosexuality. And I was kind of like, okay, why am I in here? And then I was like, I wanted to deal with just more so than anything on race, and then the subset of gender. I'm like, homosexuality. And then I'm in the class. It was Beth Pavanelli, who was in the field of anthropology, because my background is cultural anthropology. And she had a student assistant, and I'm in the class, and it was mostly women. We had like maybe one gay guy and one straight guy. It was interesting for him. And I took this class, and it was amazing. And now that was years ago. That was like, gosh, like 20, probably, no, a little bit more than 20, because I was in college and I graduated in 93. No, I graduated from high school in 93. College, I graduated early in 96. So that was early. We read a book, Stone Butch Blues. It was talking about this person who presented, was transsexual, and was talking about the oppression that she experienced, people not being able to identify whether she was male or female, and that's just how she naturally came out. And so I do feel that there's definitely some changes going on. I mean, look at Jonathan Capehart. He's on MSNBC, the head of MSNBC, a sister who's, in my understanding, is a lesbian. So it's like we are, like in our church, in the Unity Church, we talk about the shift. There's shifts going on right now. For Black folk, there are more white folk that have a greater appreciation for our experience, for people of color, for gay folk. And I don't know. When I was in law school, they just said, what do they say? Some of the bigoted folk, we're going to just have to wait for some of them to die out. I don't know. I mean, and that's kind of cold. I don't know if I want to say some of them will die. Some of them will, the Lord will touch their heart and make them more open.
Or some they won't.
Or some won't. And I don't know. I don't know what to say. It's like, for me, for the Black,
and we can't wait for them to, to come to that moment. We have to just, live our lives. And hopefully, like as a Christian, I want everyone to come to Jesus Christ, you know what I mean? And admit that, that he's their Lord and Savior. That's me as a Christian. But many people won't even do that. And if they won't do that, I don't want them to suffer. Still, like, I want them to be able to live their life. And if we can't even bring people to Christ, we shouldn't punish them here. You know what I mean? We shouldn't make life suffering for another person. That's not Christian at all.
Right. I mean, there's so many different layers. Like, I don't know if you've seen, it's graphic, or read The Handmaid's Tale. Like, I've been watching that. That's another show that's just talking about the oppression of women. I mean, you look at the history of oppression of women over time, and then you have The Handmaid's Tale, where it's these women that like the ultra conservatives take over, and they force these women to have children for the wealthy elite.
Oh my Lord.
They're like, the women are slaves, and they brutalize these women. And this happens today all over the world. There are countries where women and young children and women, girls and women, are brutalized. And it's like, to me, it's a cautionary tale that if we don't do something, we are going to go backwards. You've got folks that want to go backwards. And as far as Black folk, women, queer, trans, they want to go backwards. And it's like, and I kind of think about like Star Trek, like it's like, no, we're leaping into the future. And it's like, we're on a moving train, and the folks that don't get it, you're gonna just get left back, you're gonna get left behind.
Okay, period, Pooh.
You about to, yeah, it's about to be, a wrap, game over. So but it's like, I do appreciate there are elements of the traditional church and what I was taught that I still take. I look as like a good foundation for Christianity, but some stuff I have to disregard, because we look at the Bible. There are parts of the Bible that was used to manipulate Black folks into slavery, Native Americans into slavery. So it's like, you have to read the Bible. Like, my parents always raised me, just like I'm listening to somebody's speech, take in the stuff you agree with, but discard the stuff you don't agree with. And, so it's like, there's elements of the traditional Bible I'm gonna take in. I got my Black Jesus, because I had 12 years of Catholic school with white Jesus. And I'm like, no, I do not believe that Jesus was white, because of the part of the world where he came from, the people where I believe he was a person of color. I mean, so I got Black Jesus, because I'm like, I had 12 years of white Jesus, so I got to have Black Jesus. I know some of my Asian friends got Asian Jesus, okay? So I got my Black Jesus. So I believe, you have so many different layers. You have Christianity, Islam, and Judaism, but I believe that I chose the path, or the Lord chose for me the path of being a Christian. Like you said, I chose the path of coming on this planet and being a Christian. But like, when I see things happening like in Israel, the Israelis and the Palestinians, I'm like, now y'all are cousins through Abraham. Y'all fighting? What's going on? How y'all gonna be fighting? Some of y'all look similar. You can't tell, and it's intense. It's like, and then there's children there that are suffering because of the adults, because of the poor behavior of the adults.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. And I get frustrated, because I see so much of the Palestinian struggle. I see so much of other struggle in our struggle as African Americans in the country. I have Jewish friends, I have, Palestinian friends. And just because I support the Palestinian people does not mean that I don't love my, Jewish community. I mean, that's different.
Right.
And we have to say that more often. We have to really say that, because there's a difference. And I refuse to be silent about injustice. We can't be, otherwise we will lose more people. And I hate that people kill people in the name of God.
Right.
That frustrates me, because that's not what he's about.
It's some evilness. I just watched a video. Ed always he shows me videos. He said there was a video with AOC talking about she believes if Jesus was to come into the Congress today, he would be rejected by some of the so-called conservative Christians because they wouldn't be able to deal with him with his
Jesus.
love thy neighbor as thyself, you know.
He was tipping people. Look. Then he go there and tip the stuff over. You know what I'm saying? All the stuff like that.
When they were it was a Sabbath, and they were in there, and they were the tax collectors. They were doing business on the Sabbath, and he was like, "This is not what my father said. Y'all supposed to rest on the Sabbath. And y'all up in here doing this."
He tipped that thing over. Okay.
Yeah.
He said, "Wrap it up."
Yeah, it's just it's just very interesting. I mean, you have people that they honestly believe that Trump won the presidency and that he's going to be back in office in August.
That was a lie.
Right. And because they can't deal with reality. And it's like, dude, change is coming. You got to get on the train of change.
Change ain't coming. Change is here. Okay. Yeah. Look, change ain't coming. Change came already. It's here.
Yeah. And then the whole thing with the police, like I was watching CBS Morning, and I do bring police officers on. I have friends that are police officers. I mean, most police officers are doing a righteous job. They're going above and beyond. They're being tasked to do things that way more than their training, mental health, social workers. So most police are good. And, but I'm hearing that there's, because of the whole defund the police chant that's out there are police that are like, I don't want to be a police officer anymore. And it's like, no, y'all don't understand. You're a good police officer. We need y'all to stay. Now, if you racist, you need to go. If you racist, sexist, homophobic, you need to go. You need to go. If you're afraid of Black people, you got to go. But for the ones of you that are good, no, stay in your role. We need to make sure we give you all the supports. Make sure you're getting a good salary, health care, benefits, all of that.
And they need to stand up.
Yeah, and they were talking about in Europe how they go to school in some places for 3 years. So maybe we need to have them go to school 3 years, 4 years, get more education, more training. But no, we don't. I mean, with that whole defund the police, I know people. I'm like, where did that come from in the first? Did that come from the suburbs?
It's not new. It's not a new concept. It's not a new concept. It's been around for a while. But even at first, I was like really gung ho about it. Yeah, go ahead. Now I have like my conflict, right? Because like Desmond Robinson does not really depend on the police. I don't really there's not a lot of violence where I live. I don't really have to call the police officers, right? There are people who really do depend on the cops. And even though those same cops are the ones that brutalize them or do things like that. So I try to, when I say defund the police, I try to be very specific and articulate about what I mean by that. And this is what defund the police means. It means to take money from that, they got all of this money, but the schools are failing. Like y'all got this tank, but we got no books in the schools. We got no mental health resources. There's no the infrastructure here in our communities messed up. You know what I'm saying? We don't have all these things, but we got tanks and they got new cars. It's like they want to police a problem and arrest a problem, but they don't want to fix a problem. You have to invest in the people.
Well, I do agree with the concept of reallocation of resources.
Yeah, reallocation of resources.
But I have had good experiences with the police. I've had bad experiences, but I've had to call the police. And I mean, like I talk about in my videos, I'm not calling the police unless it's absolutely necessary. Okay. If me and mine have some arguments, we're going to work it out. Okay. We're not calling the police. Okay. My mom's from the South Side of Chicago. We handling it. Okay. However, I've had times I slipped on the ice, hurt my knee. And I called the police, the ambulance, they came. Okay. My car broke down. I called, the police came up, they helped me. So, I mean, I've had times when the police folks have helped me. So,
me too.
And our taxpayer dollars go towards that. So we want them to come. It's just, but there is a struggle because there are people that have disabilities, mental health issues. They call the police. And sometimes the police, what I saw on the special, they were talking about on CBS, they were talking about CBS Morning, where if a person is having a mental health crisis, I would like to see a mental health crisis team come in that can, maybe they have a dart, like they would do with an animal. So if somebody comes at them with a knife, they shoot them with a tranquilizer, as opposed to having people that have mental health issues or disabilities just shot and killed. I don't want to see that. But it's like you want people, because I've had clients and their families that have had episodes or crises, and the family doesn't know what to do, so they call the police. And so it needs to be like in Europe, they have a crisis team, like a mental health crisis team that comes out and knows how to deal with that crisis. And they're not going to just, they said in Europe too, like if a person comes at the police with the knife, the police know how to disarm them or deal with it. But they don't just shoot, because like in America, it's like cowboys and Indians or Westerns, shoot first, ask questions later. And it's like,
can have that, and I at every march that I've led, I on campus, I've always invited the police officers. I've always invited them, because I believe that we cannot talk about police brutality without inviting the police to the table. It has to be a collaborative effort. I want the community to have expectations of the police, and I want the police to have expectations of the citizens, and I want those to be agreed upon. And I want, I want citizens to know that, like, when you go, like when you're pulled over, the cop is expecting you to cooperate. And also that the citizen, and the cop needs to know that the citizen is expecting you to be respectful and is expecting you to respect their rights. And when you don't respect their rights, they have a right to call you out on that and to get help. There has to be like a collaboration.
A balance.
Yeah, a balance.
Yeah, like you said, a balance. I know Detective Fountain, who he does programs. I've collaborated with him on what to do and stop by the police. He says, comply now, complain later. But if you're being, like that brother, like when I saw that brother situation with the brother who was in the military, and
that was so sad.
I'm just like, wait a minute, y'all want us to go fight y'all's the wars and everything, and it's disproportionately wars where we're going after other people that look like us, people of color, people, people that are poor, indigent, and then here he is fighting for his country. He pulls over safely at a well-lit place because he don't know, because some people, some police out there, some fake cops out there too. You got to be careful. He pulls over. And the cop gonna get up and spray him in the face, and then just being rude and pat him down. And I'm just like, what is this, like gung-ho? Like, I'm like, dude, you don't need to be a cop if you got I understand you got to be careful because there's dangerous stuff out there. The cops have to be careful, but if the person is being compliant, I'm like, dude, what is going on here?
I have a reason to be nervous and all, but it's a part of the job, and they train you how to deal with that nervousness. You know what I mean? And if they don't, they should, So if you just skip all the training and just go with your anxiety and your fear, like you said, Auntie, you need to be off the force.
Right, for sure. So, all right, well, you have been with me. You've given me about an hour and a half or so. So I'm glad that we've had this time. I definitely want to bring you back. Did you have anything else to add for the audience before we leave?
I just want to say Happy Pride Month, and I just want to say Juneteenth is coming up soon. Make sure that we celebrate that, liberation, and Black people are still being liberated today, and we have to continue to do that. I want to say I love you, Auntie. Thank you for this opportunity and for all the things you do. Black Lives Matter every day, and we invest in that every day. So thank you so much for everything, and this is an honor.
All right, love you too, Desmine. I'm gonna give you a virtual hug. I know when I see you, I'm gonna give you a real hug. We're gonna do this, because we vaccinated now. We both vaccinated, so hey.
Period.
So you be blessed. Have a wonderful day, and definitely let me know about what you're doing programming. I'll let you know what I'm doing, because that's what we got to do. Like you said, Black Lives Matter, Black Loves Matter, Black Loves Matters. We definitely got to do what we can to build up folks that are suffering out there, because to me, that's what it's about. I'm doing clean slate legislation, educating people about how to clear up their records. And because redemption, that to me, that's like a ministry, we have to do what we can. I believe we all have a purpose. You know, you have that counseling, that nurturing spirit through counseling and working with students and things like that. And, you know, I work with clients and things like that, trying to help folks that are indigent. Also, I have to do retain too. I got to pay my bills. I got to balance it out. But, you know, we all have our calling. And I think that it's important that you live in your purpose. And that's what you're doing, Desmine. And then, but like we said, you've got to build yourself up. Like they talk about you on the plane, you got to put the mask on yourself first, develop, you know, help take care of yourself, and then you're be in a position to help other folks that are struggling out there. So be blessed, and I look forward to having you back, and just have a wonderful summer.
Yes, ma'am. You too.
Yeah.
Ciao.